everyone, it's Michelle from Country Morning Creations, and I'm back with day 10 of the 12 days of junk journal gift ideas tutorials. And today's is napkin embellished cards. Again, I am using the Cheery Pastels kit by Linda Israel and Norella Bouchard, who is Calico Collage. I got it. It's a file in the Friendly Junk Journal People. It's a free file in the Friendly Junk Journal People Facebook group. Now, one of the things, just a little background, I don't have napkins. When my kids were growing up in the 90s, there was a whole debate. There was the debate about cloth diapers versus disposable diapers. And at the same time, there was a debate about cloth napkins versus paper napkins. And I decided that no napkins was the way to go. So I actually had my kids wipe their hands on their clothes. So probably too much information for you guys. But anyway, I didn't have napkins for this. So what I did was I took some of the graphics and printed them out on a very, very thin tracing paper. And the way I was able to run the tracing paper through, and I'm going to peel this off, is, and I've shown this before. I'm hoping I can get this back off now. Oh, wait, the tape is coming off with the, that's what the problem is. The tape is actually coming off with the paper. So what I did, and I'm going to try to be really careful here because this is really, really thin paper. There we go. Now I've got it going right. So what I simply did is, this is a piece of plain cardstock, and I used this Scotch double-sided removable double-sided tape. So I stuck that down, and you can see that sometimes it wants to stick to this, but we're still going to be able to use this, don't worry. And so this is what I'm using instead of napkins. So if you don't have napkins, never fear. You can also get napkins very inexpensively, and beautiful napkins, by the way, at the dollar store. So you don't have to spend a fortune. But if you don't have napkins, this is a great substitution for if you don't have napkins that you can use, that you don't have any at home. For example, if you decide to go make something like this, and you say, I want to make an altered bingo card, but I don't have any pretty napkins, just make your own. Because really, that's all napkins are, these really lightweight pieces of paper anyway. And what you would do is you actually separate the two layers of the napkin, and you only use the top part of that napkin. So you don't want 2 layers of napkin. And once you separate out the 2 layers of napkin, you're left with a piece that's very similar to this. So what I have here are, I have a bingo card, I have a playing card, I have this guest check, and I also have, this is actually a guest check as well, but it was dyed so dark that I couldn't actually see the guest check part. So I've done a light wash of watered down white paint on this. And we may or may not do that today. What I want to focus on are these other 3. And what I've done is I've already taken one of these and I just Mod Podged over it and then stuck this very thin tracing paper down. And so I'm going to set that one aside. Now, for playing cards, I've found that they come with this shiny finish on them. Can you see that? And what I found is if I can lightly sand those, it takes off the shine without actually, we don't want to actually take the print off the card, but we just need to rough it up a little bit. And this is a pretty, very fine grit that I am doing over this card, but this will help everything to stick better. So now that I've done that, and that kind of ages it a little bit too, that's fun. Now that I've done that, I'm going to take a little bit of this, and I don't want a huge piece, and I want just a little bit that's going to show through. And so the point is that you can actually see behind it what is there, and I actually like that part of it. So all I'm doing is I take Mod Podge, and I'm going to just dip a brush in there. It's a pretty big size brush. Brush it over the playing card real quickly. I do have some paper down to help protect my surface. I recommend that no matter what surface you're working on, that you put a little something down. I seem to have ink or something coming off onto this. Let me grab, I'm not sure what I touched that got ink all over this, but let's see if we can get that off real quick before it dries. Sometimes I do stuff and I never have any idea where it's coming from. It's like, where did that come from? I have no idea. It's clearly on my fingers. So anyway, I liked that little butterfly there, so I'm going to lay the butterfly over this. And then I'm going to take my roller and just roll it real quickly. And then I have an embossing tool. And I'm going to use that to kind of get this going pretty quickly to start drying and to make sure it all sticks down. So the first thing you have to do is you want to put your layer over whatever it is you're decorating. And then after that, we're going to go back and add other embellishments to these. So now that I've got that one going, I want to go over and do this bingo card as well. I've now glued this all, as usual, I've glued all this together. Oh, let's see if I can get this off without making too much of a mess. All right, there we go. So next, I'm going to take this bingo card, and I have, again, some of this tissue paper, and it will become more transparent once we get the Mod Podge on there. So this I'm going to be kind of generous with because this is a really thick card, and I don't have to worry as much about it warping. It may warp a little bit, but you could see that the playing card started to warp, and don't worry about that. It will become unwarped once it's dry. But it's just because the water is expanding the pulp in the paper. So this is really a thick bingo card. So again, like I said, I'm not as worried about it as I am other things. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start at the top, and I just am going to make sure that I lay this out so that the whole thing is going to get covered. And I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to just start smoothing it down as I go. And I think I'm going to use this to kind of help a little bit to get it to go all the way down. And if it's a little bit wrinkly, that's okay. I'm just going to press this down all the way to the end. And then I like taking a brayer and making sure that everything is really pushed down well and everything is going to stick well. So you can see this bingo card actually is starting to curl a little bit, but it's not bad. So again, I'm just going to move my heat tool slowly over this. If you don't have a heat tool, you can use a hairdryer. The difference is a heat tool actually is a little bit hotter than a hairdryer, and it doesn't blow as hard. So now you can see as this is drying that you can see the actual bingo card through the tissue paper that I have used. And at the same time, you still can really see the pattern over top of it. And so that's the purpose, is that you want to be able to see all of that stuff together and still have stuff show through. So I'm going to set that aside now and let it finish drying. We're going to go back to the last thing that that needs to be done. So I don't cut my pieces down to fit. I cut them afterwards. That gives you a little bit of play if there's a little bit of wrinkling or anything like that. And so I go back and trim this afterwards. But I love the look of these altered different things. You know, your playing cards, your guest checks, any of those things. I think they're really pretty. So I have that one. I have this playing card. I'm going to first just kind of cut around the outside and then cut most of this off. And then I'm going to go back. And I like to flip them over. And see, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to ruin the back of this playing card. So I'm just going to leave that, obviously, very blank and undone. And you want to be able to tell that it's actually a playing card, not just a piece of card stock that you've actually now covered. All right, so that one is trimmed, this one is trimmed, and last but not least, I'm going to trim off this bingo card. And I got this one pretty close, so I'm not going to have much that I need to trim off. You could also do this with a straight edge if you wanted to. I think that would maybe work a little bit better. I'm just a scissor person, so I'm cutting all of this off with my scissors just to ensure that it's done like that. Now that you have your napkin or tissue paper glued on the front, and I'm going to take just a second here. Living in Colorado, I definitely need to get the lid back on my Mod Podge. I am going to wipe off the edge here with a paper towel and get this lid back on. Now I'm done with my Mod Podge. I can set that aside. And what we're going to do next is what I think is my absolute favorite part of doing these kinds of things, which is the embellishing. So I love to start with some different layers, and I have some of the leftover pieces from the from this doily. So I could even do maybe even a half piece of doily over here. And I could do a quarter piece of doily maybe on this one. We'll see. But let's start with the bingo card. And I love the doily, but I also would love some lace. And I like to use lace on these cards. So I think I want something that's going to be kind of more of an open piece. And I'm going to, hang on, I'm looking for a specific color. I want this lace. Ooh, maybe I'll use this lace. I think I'm going to use a piece of this lace. I think it's prettier and I like that it's a little bit bigger. And we'll put some of that lace across. And maybe we won't put it all the way at the bottom. I want those roses to show. So maybe we'll do something like that and something. So I always kind of lay out my layers before I determine that I want what I want. Actually, I love the idea. I'm going to move this up here. We're going to put that up there so that it is underneath the bingo. One of the things I want to caution you against is putting too much stuff at the bottom if this is going to be tucked in a pocket. Anything that's layered out is going to really, you're going to run into problems because you will have, you won't be able to fit it down in the pocket. So I kind of caution people against putting too much across the pockets. And then I would love to use some more pieces from this cheery, these pieces. So let's see, I have got this, so maybe we'll put that there. We'll put the lace there. And let's put a small piece like this up at the top. This is printed. This is that. There's a whole bunch of little pieces of ephemera. And they are, I just printed this out on a variety of things. This happens to be the cardstock that I have this printed on. So we'll put that up there. And then I think I want to put a word quote down here. So I love these word quotes. Oh, I love this one. Most folks are about as happy as they make up their mind to be. And maybe we'll cross that over into here. And then I think I better quit while I'm ahead because I am notorious for over-embellishing. And there is a time and a place for everything, but you definitely want to get to a place where you stop and glue everything down. Oh, I'm loving the way this bingo card looks. So again, we're going to move the layers over. I'm actually going to use a glue stick, I think, for most of this. I'll use Fabri-Tac on the lace. So I have a glue stick. Again, I use the Scotch Permanent glue stick, but I've also used Elmer's glue sticks. What you want to look for in a glue stick is you want to have something that is acid-free so it doesn't ruin things, and it needs to be permanent. It should not be a piece that is going to peel off later, and we don't want that. And again, I love using a brayer. These things are really inexpensive. I got mine at Hobby Lobby, and if you get it at Hobby Lobby, you can also use coupons. I mean, to me, that's the most awesome thing about Hobby Lobby is using those coupons. So I'm going to just put some dots of glue on this because what I've found is too much glue will make it seeps through, and we don't want to have glue seeping through everything. And so this piece of lace is going to go right under the word bingo, and it's already sticking to my fingers. I'm going to move it over just a little bit. There we go. And then this piece I'm going to glue actually with the Fabri-Tac again because I am going to glue over the lace. This piece was going to go over the lace. So I'm going to put that up there like that. And then this one, again, I'm going to go back to the glue stick to do. So there is our bingo card all done. Now I want to move over and talk about the altered playing card because these are pretty small. So you don't want to overwhelm it with lots of big pieces. And I'm not sure that I actually have anything small enough to put on this that would work. But you may remember we cut out these tickets from our, but I don't want to cover that up. That's too much. So let's see. For this, maybe we just simply add a flower at the top and maybe a little tiny bit of lace across the bottom. We'll keep this simple. And I think, oh, I do have this really tiny lace. And so that would be really pretty across the bottom. So we're going to put that across the bottom. And again, the whole idea is just simply creating layers as you go. And so let me make sure I cut a piece that was big enough. That is. I'm going to just trim up this side because it's a little bit wonky. And again, I'm going to use the Fabri-Tac for this and just do a couple of dots along it so that it sticks and doesn't come up, but it's not all gooey. Dropped it. All right. So we're going to put some lace across the bottom. And for these kinds of flowers, I do highly recommend that you do use the Fabri-Tac that or something that's made for fabric, a fabric type glue, so that it will actually stick. One of the problems is my fingers now have glue all over them. So there is your altered playing card and your altered bingo card. And let's do that one last piece that I already prepped, which was this one. And this one is much bigger. Again, it's about the size of your bingo card. You can still see some of the stuff coming through. And I think for this one, we've got this Beautiful You. For this one, we definitely could do some layering with some of that and maybe put that down here. Actually, I don't think that's big enough. That's not going to work. Let's get some lace. Let's get a bigger lace if we can find some. Hang on. So what I'm digging through is I have this whole box of lace. And so I've turned around to dig through this really super big box of lace. And oh, I love this one. This one reminds me of a warm sweater. So I think I'm going to use this one. And I don't want to put it across this way because I don't want to cover up that beautiful rose. There's nothing that says you actually have to put it all the way up either. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut off this little section right here so it's all even. And then I'm going to go up about 1, 2, 3 of these and cut this off. And we'll just glue that piece down here because this already has a saying, beautiful. I don't feel like I need to add a whole lot more. Again, part of the trick to these is knowing when to stop and not over embellish. Although, you know, there are some people that love the super embellished things, and I say if that's what you love, go for it. Put as much stuff on there as you can. So now again, because I'm going to move this over a little bit, because this is lace, I'm going to use this on the back to glue this down. And we're just going to center that on this piece like that. And then I do like to put a few more embellishments. Let's think about what are some other things that I have in here. Oh, I have some mini playing cards in this box. And I also have some pink flowers. That might be pretty. So maybe I'll grab a few of these pink flowers out. I have some mini playing cards. Actually, there's some glue down there, and I don't want to stick all this stuff in the glue. Can you tell there's glue on this? I've got glue stuff all glued to myself now. Oh, come off. There we go. So I have some different flowers. I have some different things. So let's look at this. I think I would love to put some flowers up in this corner. Again, putting more of your stuff in the up here that's more three-dimensional so that it will still tuck in there. This, I kind of feel like I want to put something on over this. So let's see what we have left over. We have, that rose is too big. We might just cut that little rose out. That might work. Let me think about this a second. I'm loving this layering, but I want to put something over that playing card, and I don't want to do a flower. I don't want this to get too thick. Yep, just gonna go with it. So I'm going to cut this rose out, but I'm going to make it much smaller than that whole piece. So you don't actually have to use a whole piece if you don't want to. So I'm just going to cut this out. And I know there are those of you who would probably fussy cut around it. That's fine. I'm going to actually make this a little bit more narrow, so I'm going to cut a wee bit more off. And now I'm going to glue that to the top of that. So remember, this was from the playing card. This ticket was from the playing card. I think I'm going to actually cut a wee bit more off the top and the bottom too. There we go. I am going to use the Fabri-Tac for this. I think it sticks a little bit better. So this is not a tutorial on glue. This is just the glues that I like to use. And I'm going to put that flower right there. And then we're going to glue these three. Remember, use odd numbers when you're, I'm an odd number person. I like to use odd numbers as much as I can. So we're going to put those flowers there. My fingers are super sticky right now because of all the glue. All right, and we'll put another one there. If I can get it to stick and not stick to me. Give it a second to kind of start sticking, and then we're going to put this last one down at the bottom. I like to do things kind of where they overlap and that sort of thing. So this last one is going to go right here. So there we have it. Let me move some things aside, put some lids back on the glue, and we'll take a look at what we've created today. So we have this piece, which was it was kind of a guest check. It was more of a receipt. I had a receipt book. So this was a receipt, like from a receipt book. This was a bingo card, and this was a playing card. And so that is how you do napkin embellished things, even if you don't have a napkin, right? So even if you don't have napkins, you can still do your embellishments. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you're new, go back and check out the previous 9 days tutorials. I'll also have links below posted eventually for other people that are also doing the 12 days of junk journal gift tutorials. And I'll also have my links below to both my Etsy shop, and I invite you to also follow me on Instagram. You can see more of what I'm doing over there as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope I've encouraged you to be creative today.